This is it. Real talk and whatnot.
Hey, that's dope.
Yeah, I made the beat, Chaim. What do you think about that?
I'm thinking it's some grown man shit. I gotta hand it to you, man. The Office coming together.
Dude, yeah, Duffy just gave me this desk too yesterday, and it fit perfectly, and I was like, cool. Then all of a sudden, you give me this bad boy. Now I can have a screen to edit on, dude. I'm just pumped that this is all happening.
Yeah, dude. You got fucking degrees on the wall.
Yeah.
I walk in here, I see photographs. I see. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
You did a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like pretty professional. That's why I had Felly on, Lindsay's friend Felly.
Yeah.
And she was like, I mean, I've done a podcast before, but it wasn't nothing like this shit, like this nice. And I was just like, no, I just copy Joe Rogan. That's all I've been doing. It's like, I mean, and like the thing is, first off, I just want to address real quick. I say like so much, and I never realized it until I've listened to a couple of my episodes. And I just want to say sorry to you listeners out there. I'm gonna try to say like less because it's not that it's just
you sounded like a sorority like white girl.
yeah. And it just I get so excited about things. And when I was looking online, I was like, how do you stop saying like or like and when you're talking? And it's just like, oh, you don't
Just slow down, I think.
the whole thing was just don't you don't have to say anything.
Yeah.
Use that time, and sometimes when you're saying a point, it's gonna come across a lot better if you say it without saying like.
Yeah, it's just gonna be about paying attention, dude. Because one thing that I noticed about myself, and what's also gonna appear in this podcast, is like I tend to interrupt. You know what I mean? I think we're both go
We're
people.
both that.
So for you, it's like you get excited about something, you wanna get it out. You wanna go on, and then sometimes like you're just and so I'll do the same thing. And what it's kind of like, and it something I have to pay attention to, is it's kind of like when you do that, you're telling that person like, hey, I don't really care what you say. I'm just waiting to talk again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so what I realize what it is, it's not just the fact that I'm like interrupting. It's also the fact that I'm not listening. You know what I mean? And so as soon as you make that conscious effort, I feel like you'll be able to stop saying it.
Exactly.
Because you never even realized that you did it.
Yeah, I had no idea
Yeah.
I was doing it until I rewatched it, and me and Duffy were like listening to something, and then I fast forwarded a little bit more, and then I fast forwarded a little more, and every single time I was like, and I was like, oh my gosh. I was like,
yeah,
there we go.
And I think like a lot of things, it's like you just you need either somebody to tell you,
yeah,
or you just need to learn. Like it took me,
Yeah.
and it's a conscious thing too, to where it's like I'm constantly like in a conversation now. A lot of times when I realize I'm doing it, particularly in like conversations that have the tendency to like get heated, like politics in the current setting,
yeah,
right? What I feel like is really helpful is like when I realize, because I was having a conversation with my brother the other day, and my brother, he's like, you know, he's easy to talk to and everything, but we were just talking about coronavirus and, you know, just kind of debating a little bit. You know, there's a lot of things that go into that.
yeah,
And you know, what he said to me was like, hey, you're like, at one point it got a little not heated, but to the point where it's like, hey, listen to what I'm saying, don't interrupt me.
yeah.
He said that to me, and I was like, that's when I know.
Fair point.
At that point, it's like, okay, I'm excited about what we're talking about because I feel passionately about it, or at least I have an opinion about it. But then it's like, okay, no, he's right, you know. But when they tell you that, it's like a tendency to like get mad right away.
Yeah, yeah. It's almost like you're telling me to be quiet. It's like
What?
Yeah, yeah. But they're doing it because they're just like, hear me out, openly hear me, and that's the hard thing about picking a. I mean, in anything when there's two different sides about it, it's like, especially in today's media, it seems like you can have any point of view and have complete support for it, and obviously that's.
And I think it's a tendency to go into a conversation with a point of view, and then it's like, it's not about having a conversation. Like, oh, this person has a different point of view than me. It's not about having a conversation. It's about, I'm going to convince that dude that my point of view is the right point of view. And I feel like something that's like shows like growth in a person in general, and something that's a constant thing is like that ability to be like, okay, you know, maybe the things that I think are, not always right.
Well, and then it's people like, but the fact that you can even look at, like, you can stand on the outside and be like, oh, I should listen. You know what I mean? The fact that you can do that is so much better than there's people who their opinion is their opinion is only the right opinion, and they're never gonna be able to see your side of it. And I'm just happy that like our whole group of friends is pretty much like, it doesn't matter what side you're on. We'll talk to each other long enough, and we're not gonna at the end of the day be at each other's throats or anything like that.
Yeah, because I feel like you know, for example, like when me and my brother were having this argument, we were actually at home too,
Mhm.
and at one point, my mom, just to clear the air, she was kind of like, let's stop talking about this. Let's change the subject.
Mhm.
But the thing is like, I was like, no, because
Mhm.
like, here's the thing. If I said, here's the thing, like you said, like I say, here's the thing. That's my thing. I say, here's the thing. Okay. But what I said is like, if I can't have this conversation with my brother, like what hope is there that anybody can have conversations?
Mhm.
And that's what's great about our group of friends. Because
Yeah.
you see, even on our group chat, we all bicker. Everybody's got bad days.
Yeah, everybody does.
And what do
Everybody.
you do when you got a bad day? I'm gonna go freaking talk shit in the group chat. That's what I'm about to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but the funny thing is, it's like if you're having a bad day or if you're just annoyed by something or somebody just said something that and you're just like, no, I just want to argue it. The best part to me is like always being the people in the group chat who aren't even in the discussion. Like, and then you come into it and you're like, oh crap, what's going on in here right now?
You just walk
and
in.
you're just like walk in and you're like, oh my gosh, things got so heated. Or you walk into 60 messages and you either go, I gotta invest 30. Yeah, it's either I gotta invest 30 minutes into this, or I'm just gonna skip out and I wasn't here today. Like,
yeah. Or you have
play
to
hooky.
scroll up. Or fantasy. The worst
oh,
the worst thing is a group chat during fantasy football when you're not doing well.
Oh,
You're
yeah.
like, I this season I was like, I'm just gonna lay
Yeah.
low. You know what I mean? I ain't gonna talk any shit.
I know you. Like,
I ain't
hella
gonna
low.
talk any shit, bro.
You're
Because
like,
I'm-
I'll just take it. Honestly, you no talk shit. I understand. And that was me last year. Last year, it was like every single. I somehow, thankfully, didn't get last year. I should have. I had like 900 points at the end of the season. It was horrible.
It's just like that hole that you get yourself into where you're like, oh, I'm 0-2. I gotta win.
Oh,
And I'm just gonna destroy my team in the process.
0-2 is
make
like
a bunch of risky trades.
yeah.
Yeah.
I remember I was like 0-4 at one point a year or 2 years ago.
You're like, I'll
And,
take it.
yeah, I was like Chaim, and you're like, no, dude, you have a chance to make playoffs. I was like, Chaim, I'm just trying not to get last place right now, man. Like, I don't want to.
Yeah, dude.
But when you were saying earlier, you were saying how Nate was like telling you, or I don't know what brother it was. Sorry,
It was Seth. Yeah.
Seth or whatever. Yeah, but like,
Here's
so
the thing.
here's the thing. You were saying how he was very good at like you guys are taking turns having a conversation basically, or how he's very good at you hearing both sides basically. Like hear my point and then we can go to your point. But Phil is really good. When I had him on, like you're saying, me and you interrupt people while they're talking and stuff like that. I have something in my brain and I need to get it out because if I don't get it out, I'm gonna forget, and that's my mentality when I'm blurting something out. But Phil was really good because he'd be saying something and then I blurt something out, he would respond to it, and then he would literally instantly snap back to his original point. And I'm like, wow, Phil, like
I forgot all about that. I'd already moved
Yeah.
on to other waters. So that would have been gone forever.
yeah, exactly. That's why I was like, wow. I mean, but Phil was a communication major. Phil loves to talk. Phil's a storyteller in some senses.
Yeah. And it's always going to be a constant battle. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
With like interrupting, because I'll still do it. I've already
Well,
interrupted you like 3-4 times.
It's
Look at
us.
us right
yeah,
now.
It's
Yeah,
us.
yeah.
That's why though. And it's like me and you, me and Errol, like you guys are the people that I'm like, it's the fact that we'll to be telling the same exact story, but then I want to say a part and then he wants to say a part, or like vice versa.
And
then-
that's fine. Like
Yeah.
in like a funny situation where like you and Errol are the best at this, where you guys are just like laughing back and forth. You guys are like, and you're the way you guys bicker like an old married
Yeah.
couple. This is just like you and Errol on a trip day is hilarious because you're like on time.
Complete
Errol,
opposites.
Errol comes, dude. I remember.
When we were
Freaking Errol.
Yosemite?
No, I remember going to school with Errol. Does
Oh.
the best semester of my life. So fun.
Best
dude.
and most annoying in the sense of time management. You get to Errol's house and you'd be knocking on his door, calling him 3 times, and then he would come to the door like, dude, why you gotta be like this? And I'm like, we're supposed to be leaving for school right now, Errol.
Well, the difference is me and you are both on time people,
Yeah.
right? Like you're always on time. You're early.
Yeah.
Like and
Oh,
I am
early,
too.
yeah.
I
Yeah,
am
yeah,
too.
yeah.
Harold is just like not at all. I remember on our day of our final, which is like it was child development. It's not like it's a crazy final, but like being an on-time person, especially on like
You
events,
get like nervous.
especially on big events like final exams. Like, okay, I'm an anxious person. I'm thinking at all times, what could go wrong, and I'm gonna do everything I can to make sure that the things that I'm imagining
Mm-hmm.
going wrong don't go wrong. And that's how I am all the time. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So the way I compensate for that is I prepare, you know?
Uh-huh.
And so I like to be 20 minutes
Yeah,
early, 30 minutes
early.
early.
Yeah,
I don't
whatever.
care.
Yeah.
Depending on the magnitude of the situation or the importance of the event, I'll be
Preparation for
earlier,
it,
you know what I
yeah.
mean? And so I remember showing up to Errol's house. It was just day of the finals. And knocking on his door, and we had I knew Errol at this point, so I usually came like about an hour early.
I remember I would start
You
having
know?
to come early.
Yeah, and he was just like in his boxers making egg rolls in the morning
With
and it
not
was
a
like,
care.
Yeah, and it was like, okay, you know, I 10 minutes in, and then like I start getting a little bit stressed, and then what do you get when you get stressed is like you start nagging, you know. And so I remember, just freaking, we ended up being like right on time, and Errol was
Dude,
just
that's
like, yeah,
with
man.
Harold, we're always Harold literally is always all right on time.
Yeah,
Most of
it's
the time.
impressive actually.
Yeah, it is impressive because I would go to his house and then he'd be eating breakfast and then he'd be like, hold on, I just got to shower, got to do some of my homework and
it's
something
like-
like
you're like,
that.
what?
I'm like, what do you mean you have to do that?
You're gonna do all that right now?
And then he'd be like, I'll drive so that you can do your homework, Harold. Well, let's do that.
Yeah, you had to compromise. But that was so funny. I remember in class too, we would always get in trouble because we'd just be giggling the whole time.
Having class with any of my friends was such a
Remember our stats class?
Stats was so fun. Stats was so fun, and it wasn't fun because of the teacher. I had an irrational hate for that teacher. I mean,
Everybody did.
Yeah.
To be honest, there's like a weird thing because she's so terrible at jokes.
she's so bad at jokes, and then she's like,
But she doesn't know that she's bad at jokes.
And I just remember I think I had to have her for one more class.
Did
yeah,
you really?
Yeah, I had to have her for one more class. So I had stats with you, and then I went to Stanislaus, and then I went back to the JC for something, and I had to take one more math class because I was in it by myself. That's what I remember.
Oh.
Yeah, and I remember just feeling bad. I was just like, man, Miss, that's her name.
Ooh, exposed.
Yeah, I've been name dropping people. I mean, I got to beep some of them out, which
Yeah.
people will have heard.
That's a risky move.
Yeah, I know.
She's a heavyweight. I'm just kidding.
Oh, she was in the movie?
That's fucked up. You're gonna edit that out. No, I'm playing. No, I had her for two semesters. She's not a bad teacher in my opinion, but she's just like weird.
Yeah, she's
I don't
just
know.
really weird.
She would always
Like cringe-worthy. That's what it was. It wasn't even that. It was that she's weird, but it's that she tries to make these jokes, and it's just
She
like
isn't funny, but she doesn't know that she isn't funny.
And then like the whole class is kind of like, eh.
Yeah, do you remember her? I bet you can remember because I took her for 2 semesters, and I think I heard her same. She did the same spiel on the syllabus. Like she had the same jokes.
Oh.
And I was like, oh, so this is like your worked out stuff. This is like your best stuff.
Yeah, but professors do that all the time. Professors have go-to jokes. My accounting professor, I don't know what his name was, but I had one that was a British dude, and he was funny, and he would maybe teach us some stuff, and then he'd be like, oh, I haven't talked about my whore ex-wife to you guys yet. And then we're like, oh no, and he's just like, well, listen to what this lady did. I call her on the telly, and like he just was a guy going off about like crazy stuff, and I was just like, what the hell? Maybe my next semester in accounting 2 will be better. Accounting 2, well, no, it was a different guy, but this guy was, I wish I remembered his name. He was like one of my favorite teachers. He had go-to stories though, like Randall. Randall knows his lesson plan. This guy knew his lesson plan, and he was just like, oh, I haven't told you this story. And then he was like also worked at the UC, and he was just like, the reason they're called the Bobcats is because, there's actually Bobcats in the area. And he's like, one time he was leaving campus, and he just heard like this crazy noise in a tree, and he turned around, and when he turned around, there was just 2 Bobcats that fell out of the tree, and then just looked at him and then ran away. And he was like, I was like, what the hell?
Has like hella stories, dude. One thing I've started to realize as my first semester of teaching is like I can't remember what I said to certain classes, so I'll like mix it up, and so I'll be like, always be like, did I tell you guys this? Because like I don't do the same jokes for each class.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't know. I just keep
Well,
it real.
I mean, you're working your material. You know, you're working it right now.
Yeah,
You
but
gotta
sometimes
find
I
it.
will do the same job. I gotta find my. I'll tell you what. When I get my syllabus thing, it's gonna be way better than her fucking
Oh,
cockroach
yeah.
joke. All right.
Yeah.
I'm so, Mrs. You're not that. We're talking a lot of shit.
Yeah.
But
Honestly, you're a good teacher. I passed stats. I learned some stuff. Granted, not that I'm not giving you credit to passing, but I'm giving him credit because he was just over my every math class. Chaim is a tutor, my tutor, my specialty tutor.
remember that one time when you were having fun? I caught you
Yeah.
having fun doing math.
Yeah, that was the height of my math. All of a sudden, I was like doing like, oh, this goes there, this goes there,
Yeah.
there you go, and you're like, look, you're having fun. And I was like, God damn it,
Yeah.
Chaim, I was having fun.
I was like, what were you doing? You were multiplying polynomials.
Yeah.
That's what you were doing. No, once you get it, like I feel like math. People hate math because so many people are bad at teaching math.
Yeah, and that's something that I realized with you. You would break it down in the sense that if I didn't understand it, you're like, let's take it back until I figure out why you don't understand it. Where other people, it seems, or a lot of basically classroom settings for math, most of the time it's like we'll do problems on the board, and then you guys do them yourself. We'll raise your hand if you have any questions, and then that's the end of the lesson. Go do homework.
Yeah.
I mean, like that's it.
And what I feel like, what a lot of people don't understand, the best way to learn math, and I'm convinced the best way, and there's a lot of studies that show this, is with other people.
Mhm.
Like with other people. And it doesn't matter. The great thing about that is both the person who's like knows more and is
Mhm.
explaining it, and also the people that are learning it are both actually benefiting. When I was in school, I was always in groups of 3 or 4. I would have like at Merced College. It was funny. I had a common theme. There was always a foreign exchange student that would be my friend.
Really?
You know, I think it's because I was younger. You know, I
Uh-huh.
was at the
Oh,
JC.
yeah. When
And
you're-
so I was like 17,
Yeah.
18. And so they're like, they just like literally every semester I had a different one. And we would always study together.
Mhm.
And what I found was,
and they're probably taking it. They notice that you're taking it seriously compared to.
Mhm. And
most-
I was I was in the math lab being
Yeah,
so that's
I remember
also
that,
probably, I was like 3 hours a week. And so they were all, a lot of them were learning like
I mean,
English.
were you
still.
like 18 being a tutor?
No, I was 17. I was 17. I wasn't a tutor till I was 18, yeah. But when I was taking calculus, I was 17. And I was taking it at the college because I was I was homeschooled. So when you take classes at the college, you get
You actually get
regular-
college credits.
it's like an AP class.
Yeah.
Pretty much. So you actually get more credits.
It's more. No, yeah, it is. You get the college credit for yourself.
And it counts as both, yeah, high
Yeah,
school and
yeah.
college. But anyway, so what I found when I would study in groups, and usually in tests especially, but I would have like 3 or 4 different people that I would study with. I was studying all the time back then.
Mm-hmm.
Is as you're explaining it to people, like when you explain anything, you have to like break it down into its like simplest parts, because you're trying to. It's one thing to understand something, and then you have to know the vocabulary to phrase it to somebody, and then get them to make the connection that you made.
Yeah.
And a lot of times when you're explaining it, you're actually conceptualizing it yourself. There's been so many times where I've like, in attempting to explain something, because when you explain something, you have to kind of think while you're explaining, how am I going to explain this? And then like, and then
the repetition of that probably alone. I mean,
and so as you're going, a lot of times what you'll realize is like, oh man, I didn't really understand this before, and then now I understand a different part of it. And that's why I love math. Like my experience teaching this semester is, oh my gosh, I've learned so much. And every time you do math, you learn something that you didn't learn before. You make more connections that you didn't make. It's so dense. Like people, like a lot of people don't understand. Because it's like, the first time I took all this stuff, I was, through a college lens and not at like a full level of understanding. So I was getting the basics.
Yeah.
And so like now that I'm teaching it, I get to kind of go back.
You're like
and
dissecting the whole process of like, because you're taking it piece by piece. You're taking students from lesson 1, whatever, and each time you're building on it and you're building on it and building on that. But with teaching, you're doing that and you're reconstructing it over and over. I'm saying like for the different years and stuff like that. So you'll be finding out more and more about math. Like,
yeah, and so it's the same kind of thing, because like now I get to take all those classes again with the knowledge that I already have, which means I'm going to have a better understanding of the material. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And what's cool about it, and what I found like is just like why I love it
Mhm.
is because like literally like just today I was like I didn't know that when I took it. And like, or I,
Oh.
I knew how to do it a lot of times. Like I was
Mhm.
good at like, cause I was studying all the time. So I could do a problem and like kind of repeat it.
Mhm.
But then there's things that you go back. It's like, oh, I'm not just, doing numbers. I'm
Mhm.
actually visualizing what they mean. You know what I mean? And that's the
Mhm.
difference between really understanding math. And that's why people like hate math sometimes because like the way it's taught is mostly
There's
algorithmic, right? It's like,
yeah.
oh, I'm doing this plus this and this plus this. So it's very much like memorizing steps.
Yeah. I remember so many math classes growing up where as long as I memorized that I use this formula or I do this right
Hmm.
here, then I will get this problem right. If it's the same as this practice problem or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah. And that's how it's taught. But what's really great about being able to, and what I feel like is the difficulty in teaching math, I should say, is like you got to make all those connections so
Mhm.
that you can show them because like there's a lot of times like so one person's gonna get it if you show them like this is the algebra way, right? This is what it means. Like
Mhm.
this is the x's, and you're manipulating. You're doing some stuff to
Mhm.
it that we know, and it gets you the right answer. And then this is what it looks graphically, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
and what does that mean? So you make that connection over here,
Mhm.
and then it's like okay, in the real world, this and that. And so
Yeah.
you're giving them like three different tries
To
to like get, you know,
visualize it, understand the principles in different
yeah.
scenarios.
And so it's like you try to get away from just like, what just do this, and this, and you get the answer. And it's
Mhm.
like at the end of the day, it's like, I always try to get them to see why are we doing this?
That's yeah.
We're building like and just like
That
this
even
the
if you
bigger
just
picture.
bring that, yeah, even if you just talk about the bigger picture, that's going to help so many more students because I would say most math teachers don't talk about the bigger picture or what this leads into, or like obviously every lesson is leading into almost like another lesson, right? Like when you're learning something, not everyone,
So
but
this is how like I would explain it, and this is
hmm
how like so I'm teaching pre-cal right now.
hmm
This is how it's the goal of any like what we call function or
hmm
equation is like we're trying to model right real
hmm
life situations is what we're trying to do. So like in a pre-cal class they'll start you with polynomials which look like depending on the shape, if it's square it looks like a parabola,
hmm
right? So they all have a certain graph that they model,
hmm
right? So polynomials, and then we talked about exponential functions, right? And
hmm
so they always teach you the function first and what the graph looks like, and then
hmm
they teach you how to do all the graphs by using transformations.
hmm
And then the next thing they do is they teach you its inverse because the inverse helps you solve equations for functions, right?
hmm
So the inverses is like your tool to solve equations,
Okay,
right?
gotcha.
So we're creating equations, and then we're inventing an inverse for the equation to help us solve it,
hmm
right? And then the last thing they'll teach them is all application problems, right?
Yeah,
And that's pretty much the flow of the class.
yeah.
And so what I'm getting to see is like, listen, the reason why we have math is because we made it to model real life equations, right? And
Mm.
so I can't teach you the real life equation until you learn the things about the math, like the function
Mhm.
and the inverse, right?
Mhm.
But if you do all of that, you'll be able to see the bigger picture,
Mhm.
right? And so people hate math because they get lost in the fact that yeah, this is for like human made like
Technologies and
yeah,
everything
this is how
else.
stuff works.
Yeah.
It really is, and it's useful for us.
Yeah.
But they get caught in the first four steps where it's just like I'm just solving equations and doing this and
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
and they're never able to like, okay, why am I doing this? Well, these equations, they're like I got to walk before I can run, kind of thing. You know what I mean?
All right, I have an idea. So I'm gonna go say a type of math. You tell me just a quick response of how it's used in the real world.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I don't know, dude.
I
All
mean,
right,
I'm
let's
like, so
go.
what is? How about algebra? Like,
Algebra.
yeah, algebra.
Okay, so um, it's pretty like broad term.
You gotcha. Go ahead. That's
So
fine.
imagine like so algebra is all about solving equations,
Mhm.
right? And so we can use like equations to model real life situations. So
Yeah.
think about exponential functions, right?
Mhm.
So exponential functions are functions that are growing in relation to themselves, essentially,
Mhm.
right? So you can model things like population growth with
Mhm.
exponential functions,
Oh, okay.
right? Because what's the population, right? the more you have of something,
Mm-hmm.
the more it's going to grow,
Yeah.
right? If you have 30 rabbits, 70 rabbits is going to grow a lot faster than
Faster,
30 because
yeah.
you got more rabbits
Yeah.
making more rabbits,
Yeah.
right? So the more you have of something, the more your growth is as well,
Mhm.
right? And so we use that function to model like population growth,
Mhm.
right? Which is why so many people were worried about the coronavirus,
Yeah.
right? The coronavirus, exponential growth. You know why?
Yeah.
The more people who have coronavirus,
More people are gonna get
the more
corona.
people are going to spread coronavirus, right?
Mhm.
Population growth, right?
Mhm.
So you cannot know how to solve those equations, which
Mhm.
model those situations. All those numbers you see,
Yeah.
coronavirus, those are all exponential equations
That's cool.
that they're using to model, like,
Uh-huh.
okay, the way you do it is if you were in science, for example, so you had experiment, you wanted to see how much bacteria grew at a certain, you know, if maybe I can model it, like what's the growth rate? So you might leave it and come back 30 minutes later, right?
Mhm.
And come back 30 minutes later and take samples and see
Yeah,
how much
yeah.
growth there is, right?
Uh-huh.
That's kind of what we did with the coronavirus cases,
Uh-huh.
right?
Yeah, that's true.
And so I guess the bigger picture, without algebra, you would be able to, I guess, figure out like, okay, I know the variables, but I wouldn't have any tools to solve the equations that I needed.
Mhm. And
know?
then I would say then stats is kind of basically like social media and why I mean, right? They use stats to track everything that we like and the things we spend time watching and stuff like that. They calculate it, they make an algorithm. Is that mostly stats right there?
So I would say, if you've noticed recently, stats is like the newest math.
Mhm.
I would say, because what really made stats take off, in my opinion,
Mhm.
is the computer. Because what stats is, it's all about data,
Mhm.
right? And what data tells us, right? That's pretty
Mhm.
much what it is.
Yeah, that
And
makes
so
sense.
back in the day, if you wanted to collect data, right, you had to do it probably manually,
Mhm.
right? And you'd have to do, you remember standard deviations
Yeah.
and things like that. And that's all about like weighing, like if you're doing a study, like how accurate your data is. Like
Mhm.
if I have all this data, because when you talk about anything in the real world, like you're not getting exact solutions, you're getting estimations,
Mhm.
right? And so stats is like a way of making those estimations and then like analyzing those and figuring out what conclusions can I draw from those estimations,
Mhm.
right? And so there's a bunch of tools in that. It's pretty broad,
Yeah.
but what's really it's also really good at like predicting the future. Like people use statistics to predict the future. Like what are their tendencies, right?
Uh-huh.
And the more data points you have, the more likely that those tendencies will occur, right? Say you flip a coin, right?
Mhm.
Heads or tails. What's your chances of getting tails?
50-50.
50-50, right? So if I flip a coin, what's my chances of getting heads?
50.
50-50.
Yeah.
So does that mean that if I flip it 4 times, I'm automatically going to get 2 tails and 2 heads?
No.
No, right? It doesn't. What if I did it 8 times? Does that mean I'm going to get 4 tails and 4 heads?
No.
Okay, so how can you say 50-50?
I don't know.
So the
Why?
reason why, and this is kind of a lot of what stats is about, is it's not exact, but if you did it forever,
Mhm.
then it would be closer
It would even
and closer.
yeah, it would start evening out eventually, right?
Yeah.
Especially if you do it a thousand times or 1,000 times, it'll probably end up being
closer and closer
Yeah,
to 50%,
yeah.
right? You may do it 50 times and the probability of getting 50 heads would be low, but it wouldn't be 0.
Yeah.
Right? And so it's all about predicting what is most likely.
and they got to
to
use a lot of
happen.
math for slot machines, right?
Yeah,
you
it's
would
all, well, that's
think.
all about like what's most likely to happen.
Yeah.
Right? And so but just as we saw, right?
Mhm.
The more data points we got, right? The bigger we got, the more the chances of the actual probability being 50%, right?
Mhm.
So now consider, like you were talking about with social media,
Mhm.
right? And how they've gotten, why stats is important,
Yeah.
right? So what they're doing is now they have constant data points of us, right?
Mhm.
They know where we are.
They know what
They
we're
know
looking
where
at.
we're going to the gym,
Mhm.
and they don't just have it for 1 day or 2 days. That
Oh,
wouldn't be very good.
they
They have it for
know.
every day.
Yeah, they know.
Right? And so why is that so important? Well, like you said, they have our habits down.
Mhm.
What am I most likely to be at this point? This
Mhm.
point, this point? They're using statistics, the computer is,
Yeah.
to analyze your data, right?
Mhm.
And so you get in the car and they know where you're going.
Yeah, they're like 15 minutes till you get home, and you're like, at least there's not traffic today. Whatever.
Okay, and then check it out with sports.
Oh yeah.
I always say statistics has freaking ruined sports, especially baseball.
Yeah.
They know where is he most likely to hit it. Why do they shift? Because they have data points.
Oh.
They have They have 15 years.
Mhm.
I mean, not anymore. Not 15 years because it's like I said in baseball. Even it's new. They're catching up.
Yeah.
Mathematician statistics is getting into baseball. So within the last 6 or 7 years, as statistics has
Does that
continued to
slow
grow,
the game not slow it down, but kind of
well, just they
make it
know
more
where they're going to hit it
predictable?
most
Yeah.
likely. So what does that mean? More outs,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so
Yeah.
what baseball players did is like, fuck that, I'm going to hit it over the fence, or I'm going to strike out, because it's kind of like, think about the shifts as like a casino game, right? You're going to lose already most of the time. If they didn't know where you're going to hit it most of the time, if they just played regular baseball,
Yeah.
you're going to lose already as a hitter.
Mm-hmm.
So imagine having them have like 5-6 years of data points where you're going to hit it, where you're most likely to hit it. And that's exactly where they're
because
playing.
they can be like, if I throw a slider, he's most likely to hit it here, or whatever. If I throw
No, just like this is his tendencies. He never hits it to left field.
Oh.
Guess what? They know how much he hits it 8% to left field.
Yeah.
He hits it 12% to right field.
So we're
know
gonna
what I mean?
shift that way.
And then like, so he's like 80% here
Yeah.
and here. 80% is like, yeah.
That's great odds.
And then it's the same concept with the data points, right? Why is it so good? Well, they have a lot of data points. They just started collecting them the last 5 years.
But
right?
But now they can do each individual player.
And the more data points, right? The more you have, the more you're going to actually arrive at what's actually going to happen with the heads and tails. Flipped it an infinite amount of times, it'd be 50-50, right? So the more data you have, the more accurate you can make your predictions, right? And so that's why I'm saying with the computer, right? Because the computer's capable of analyzing all the data. Like if I were to do it, dude, I got to take these, you remember stats, like with the list.
Yeah,
I do. And so they already know how to do all of these, statistics themselves. And all you have to do is tell it what statistic you want. So that's why this analytics stuff, that's what it's about. All it is all statistics. And they have one for everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not, we each have our own profile, which I don't even know, like, you know what I mean? We must have our own profile, as in like our at least our name or our link, right? And then they have all this information about us. And obviously they're selling it to everybody because
I don't think it's I wouldn't say it's I don't think it's anybody in particular.
No,
like,
I'm thinking just that part of the algorithm.
Yeah. And so like I think a lot of times you always want to think of like somebody having all this information, when in reality is like nobody could absorb, or they wouldn't be able to take in all that information in regardless, right? But it's the matter of that they can literally influence our opinions, right? That's what the thing is. They can influence it.
They're gonna show you what you want to see, basically.
Yeah, because they know what you want to see before, you know. And even if and the thing is like, even if you didn't want to see that, or even if you didn't want to do that. That's like, so say you're trying to quit something. Say you're trying to quit doing this or that.
Yeah.
Imagine how hard it would be if this thing constantly told you, like, hey, you have this. And so you get stuck in your habits, you know what I mean? Like, imagine, like, when you get in a car sometimes, it's like on the GPS.
Yeah.
It's like, you're going here.
Yeah.
And I'm like, fuck, I am going there. God damn it.
I feel you. Also, real quick, man, I need you to run still, okay? I need you to keep running because you're motivating me and Lindsay and even Errol. Errol was like, I went to play catch with him at the back of the lake today, and he was just like, hey, why did Kai say he's going to stop running? Because apparently he said it in our group chat or whatever. And I was like, I don't know, man. He needs to keep running. And I was like, I don't know if he knows that he doesn't have to run 6-minute, 30-second mile times, but like, you got to keep running, man. You're so fast. Not for the fast point, but one, you inspire us to run more. And two, like, I just think run like 10K or something. Like, you will freaking...
Dude, I just freaking miss working out, like actually lifting weights.
I don't blame you. Yeah, I don't blame you.
And so now that the weather's better and like the gym's opening up, I'm just like, yeah, I'll still run. I just don't think I'm gonna run.
You don't have to run
you
were running a lot.
Well, the thing is, like, I think if you're gonna run long distances and like how I wanted to run, that was like my way of like I couldn't work out, right? The quarantine happened. I couldn't work out, and so the type of person I am is I need to have some sort of goal.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, I'm gonna
Go
like,
crazy. Go insane.
when it first started happening, it was like 2 weeks of not working out, and
Mhm.
it's like, it was like driving me crazy, to be honest,
Mhm.
because like working out to me is like a way to
Real-
keep level. Otherwise,
Mhm.
my mind, like the anxiety just
Yeah.
overcomes me, and that's what another thing that I had to realize about growing up. Like when
Mhm.
I was younger, I had no idea about
Yeah.
like
Oh,
anxiety or
no
anything.
mental health is relatively new. Like,
Yeah. And so it's like for me, if I don't work out and I don't exercise, like
Mhm.
that ends up coming into
Mhm.
that was like my way of keeping level. Like if I don't do that stuff,
Mhm.
then my old tendencies tend to come up.
Mhm.
It's like my way of keeping out my demons almost.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
And so with running, what I've noticed is it doesn't help as much as like going to the gym and just freaking like I don't know, there's something about lifting
Well, and it's
that's different than running.
well, and especially when you haven't lifted in
Yeah.
Exponential.
I'll still run.
Yeah, I get it. But you were like saying it to us, like I'm not gonna run anymore. I was like, no, man.
That being said, I haven't ran. In
I know,
like a
but
week.
like that's what I know. I barely just beat you, or barely just like caught up to you on our freaking running group or whatever. But also this last month was. I mean, I made a crazy goal for myself of 600 miles, but
600? That's not crazy.
it's
dude.
50.
You could do
It's 50
that.
a month. So
You could do that.
yeah.
No, you freaking you and Lindsay have both been killing it running. I've noticed,
Well, yeah.
especially these last couple weeks.
Yeah, we do.
And
Yeah.
it is motivating, dude, and that's why I've been running so much. That's
Yeah.
another thing.
Well, I know. I remember you told me that in the beginning. You're like every single time. You're like I love the challenge because you always want to be at the top of it no matter what. The funniest was part when we were in the other running group challenge and it was Fabrizio made it, but it was like somebody's dad would walk like 7.
Dude, it doesn't matter.
I know.
It doesn't matter. But the thing is like that's another thing about myself that
You're competitive.
I think the older you get, the more it's important to look inward. Like, what really motivates you? And every human is motivated by something different,
Yeah.
right? And so one thing I got actually from the Michael Jordan documentary is like, if you know how your mind works, like you can trick yourself into being motivated when you don't want to be, you know. And so like the way that I do is I have stupid competitions,
Yeah.
like competitions that are ridiculous. And guess what? I'm so competitive that those competitions come up naturally.
Yeah.
So when I in the group chat, if I'm doing something and I see somebody else doing something better,
Yeah.
I'm like, fuck that. I'm gonna,
Yeah,
So if
yeah.
I see someone with more miles,
Uh-huh.
I'm always like, I'm gonna do more miles than that.
Yeah.
And so that dude who literally walked like
7 miles a day.
7 miles a day, it didn't fucking matter because I didn't see the time.
You just saw his bar.
I just
ahead
saw
of
the
yours.
fact that he walked 7 miles, and I mean he ran 7 miles. It didn't say walked.
Yeah.
It said he
It said
ran
14.
8 miles,
Yeah.
and I was like, motherfucker. I was like, all right, you know what I mean? He
Yeah.
ran 8 miles. I got to run that too, or
Yeah.
regardless. And he always beat me every freaking time.
Well, yeah, especially if you're I mean, just if you're doing 7 miles a day, it's hard to keep up with anyone, even if it's walking. Like, and I mean, naturally, we're not gonna.
I take days off if I'm doing anything longer. I could run 3 miles. When I first started running, that's what I was doing. I was doing 3 miles at least 5 times a week. And what I actually do really like about running is you start to realize how mental it really is. And it's another thing about it's just controlling your mind.
My favorite thing is when you finally get in tune and you're just breathing, and then I understand what you're saying, how lifting and running are different, but I get like the runner's high is like very euphoric feeling sometimes. You just feel so good, and it's not even like not like a high feeling in the sense. It's just like your body naturally is at its natural state of peak, almost peak physical condition. It feels like, and you're just, I don't know. I just love that feeling.
Dude, I feel like when you're running, you're going through phases. Sometimes,
Oh yeah.
And what people don't get is like, it's most of it. And until you're like a decent enough runner, it's gonna be freaking horrible for you. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? It's not
it's
fun.
rough
It's not
getting
fun when you
into it.
start. But how I got better is I did the same path every day,
Mm-hmm.
and every single time I got a little farther. Not every time,
Mhm.
but if I got farther, the next time I had to do at least that.
Yeah.
Because I'm setting a competition with
Yeah.
myself. You know what I mean?
yeah.
I'm like,
yeah.
this motherfucker, like if I did it once, I can do it again. And that's
Mhm.
all it is. So when I first started, I couldn't even run 3 miles straight. I would run 1.5
Mm-hmm.
and then I would pause and I would run 1.5. But, and then eventually I got it up to 3 and then I
Mhm.
was like, 3 was easy. Like I was doing it. And it's about consistency.
Yeah.
Consistency, and accountability.
Mhm.
Every time I ran, I ran at least as far as I ran before,
Mhm.
you know, literally every time. And eventually, if you hold yourself to that, like, you know, and when you go through those phases where like even still when I'm running 6 miles, I'm like, man, my brain will start being a bitch. Man, you're fucking tired. Like
Oh,
your
yeah,
your
yeah.
knees hurt, your leg hurt,
Well,
and they so convincing sometimes
yeah.
that they're like, dude, you better stop. Like you're gonna
Yeah.
hurt yourself. And
Yeah.
it's like, no, I'm not, dude.
Yeah.
Like you're such a bitch. That's what I say. I am being such a bitch because and it's so true because even when I got to like actually be a pretty decent runner where I was running distance, what I would notice is I have the same cop outs every
Oh
run.
yeah, dude. Around 5 miles is when something generally. I mean, you have certain days where you feel really good,
Mhm.
but like I feel around
So,
five
yeah,
mile,
you do.
5 miles. If I'm gonna run 8 miles or something like that, when I get around 5 miles, I'll start cramping again, or you start something
Yeah.
comes up
I have
again,
the sting in the side,
and
right
it's
here.
just 30 seconds you need, maybe a couple minutes you need to bear through it, and then you feel completely fine, if not way better
Dude,
afterwards.
and it's a mindset, right? It's
Yeah.
being able to recognize that
Mhm.
because even I remember one run in particular where I had this cramp and it hurt like in the side. And what I realized is a lot of times it's because I'm not breathing, right?
Yeah.
Especially when you know,
Oh.
if I hadn't, my mind's racing, I'm not really focused. Like you said, sometimes it takes longer to get in the zone.
Oh, way long.
So I remember I
Yeah.
did my first 3 miles, and like after about 2 miles, it was just like this cramp, this crazy like pain right here,
Mhm.
and it was just like the little voice comes back like, oh, dude, you're not gonna make it 3 miles, you know. And what I train myself to do is like every time that happens, like okay, I'm not breathing right, and
Mhm.
so
Mhm.
slow down, get your breathing right, catch up, and then all I'm thinking about is breathing. And then guess what? Like I'm thinking about breathing to that spot that hurts too.
Uh-huh.
That's something that
Yeah.
doing yoga taught you,
Yeah.
right?
I never thought about breathing a certain part of my body
Yeah.
until yoga was like breathe in your chest, breathe in your stomach, breathe over here. I was like, oh my gosh, like
Yeah.
you just don't realize that your body has all these capabilities that I don't know.
It's just your mind does
Yeah.
it. Your body can do a lot more than your mind says you can.
Yeah.
And so once you start to understand your mind, like we have that data points, right?
Mhm.
I have all this data points. I ran all those miles and I
Mhm.
had to learn like I probably could have ran 6 miles at that time.
Yeah.
Like there's a certain amount of
Oh,
philosophy
yeah,
where
yeah,
it was
yeah,
like
yeah.
it was just like I had to learn like my cop outs, like
Yeah.
my mind. Like I had to learn how to my mind was telling me I couldn't. And I was like, oh, I could have.
Mhm.
I just had to figure out how to control that, when I was
Yeah.
running. And that's the cool thing about running because even when you're running, consistently and you're like a pretty decent runner, like you still have those highs and those lows
Mhm.
where it's like, oh, fucking,
Dude, some days,
I'm
yeah.
tired today.
Yeah, or you just don't
And-
feel it. There's so many times.
But when you're experienced, you know what I mean?
you just know, yeah.
Like you look forward to those fucking
Mhm.
days.
Mhm.
Like, and that's the psychopath that I was,
Mhm.
kind of when it comes to that thing. Because like on those days, I'm like, oh, this is gonna be a hard run today.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is mental training today.
Mhm.
You know?
What I do with myself is it's like I know I'll cop out. That's just me. Like I cop out if something's hard, and that's not like a hate on me. I just know I'm scared to push my limits because I get hurt easily doing things, right? So freaking what I'll do though is I'll just run, and I'll run somewhere I've never been before, and I will just like if I'm going down a cul-de-sac that I've never been in before, I'll get a neighborhood, I'll go down one cul-de-sac, then I'll go down another cul-de-sac, I'll go down another cul-de-sac, then I'll be like, I've never been over here before, let me go this way. And so I
That's so
literally
you,
just
man.
try to run
just
like
go.
into places I don't know. That way I have to find my way back and go back. And then if I run far enough away, I have to run back, obviously. So I know I'll like, and then I
You
try
just
to
like literally get lost.
yeah, that's what.
Like, all right, gotta
Because if it's
Micah
just-
ran 25
Like I
miles
couldn't do
today.
what you do. I love that loop. I love the 3 mile loop by your house. I
Mhm.
love that loop. But I personally just can't run the same thing every day because I will go
Yeah,
insane in my brain.
Okay, and that's kind of ties into what we were talking
Yeah.
about. It's like what motivates you
Yeah.
is different
Yeah.
than what motivates me. Like I'm speaking from experience, and there's probably people like me
Yeah.
who are like taking that in, and there's
Uh-huh.
also people like him, like that aren't like me.
Uh-huh.
That are like, okay, you're making that seem like
Yeah. Like
It's-
some people running
yeah.
3 miles seems like it's impossible.
or like you're like you don't really that's not really your mindset or something like that.
yeah.
And it's like it all depends on the very first thing I feel like you need to do, and this is what I would tell my students. Is
Yeah.
like, what motivates you? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's not just like what do you like to do? It's like what motivates you.
Mhm.
My number one thing is competition. So once you figure out like what motivates you, you can motivate yourself, you know what I mean? With these imaginary stupid situations.
Yeah.
You know? And
yeah. My imaginary stupid situations are just different than your imaginary stupid situations.
but you found out what's motivating.
Yeah.
And when you tell me that, it's like hilarious because like
my brain just works a different way to make myself run more, and your brain works a completely different way to make you
different, but both effective.
Yeah,
exactly. You're a beast in running too, but the thing is that competition also, it motivates you.
Oh
slightly
no, it does.
Because
It
that's
does.
just something that like motivates.
It's
a lot
just
of
like
people
if I see you run 8 miles, I'm like, okay, well, I got to do a big run coming up. Then, like, it's not like I have to do it instantly or I have to do it to beat him. It's just like I don't want him to sail away from me, so I need to.
I gotta have the respect of the squad.
Yeah,
and there's something about that, especially for guys. Like I can't speak on girls too probably, but guys like I think what motivates a lot of group of guys is competition.
That's why fantasy football,
right? And no anything competition.
I know, but I'm saying just that's why it's even more intense because fantasy football is like. Everyone feels like it comes down to like me making the right moves, brains of it. I'm smarter than you with my moves.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, no, you don't know anything. It's all luck, you guys.
And that's why it means so much more, than it should. You know? That's also why I love it, But it's so just seeing those, like, I feel like it's like accountability goes. Like you see the whole group, you're hella good at it. When people don't run, you'll call them out on it.
Oh, yeah.
You'll be like, Errol, fucking run, dude. Because it's like,
dude, okay, when I did that, when I called him out, he called me on the phone and he was like, are you serious right now, motherfucker? I was like, what? Are you serious right now? And he was just like, you just call me out right now in the group chat like that? He was like, that's just disrespectful. I was like, are you serious right now, Errol? I was like, are you serious? And he was just like, yeah, I'm dead serious. I'm like, this is over. I was like, I would have said crap to anybody. I chose you because I thought you could take it. And he was just like, so pissed off. And then Bear started crying and he was like, you're making my baby cry. You're making my baby cry. And I was like, I don't think I'm making your baby cry.
I'm not even there,
And
Errol.
then Leah walked in and I just heard Leah on the phone. She's like, what's going on? And then he's literally
the whole thing to her.
Yeah. He literally just explained the whole entire thing on why he's yelling at me. And then Leah's like, his whole thing is he got hurt playing catch with us. We're playing football. We're running routes with you.
Oh yeah.
We're running routes. And then, but he was just like freaking out on me. He was like, going balls out. Oh, I was said in the text to him, I said, sorry, you get hurt doing daily activities, man. I'm sorry about it. And he was just like, going balls out on football is not a daily activity. Going balls out on football. And I'm like, yeah, but going balls out isn't, but playing catch with your friends shouldn't be a reason that.
Yeah.
But Errol, you have improved so much.
No, you
ran 6 miles in the freaking rain. I was like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Dude, he has. Like, that's what I told him.
It's just, he's been doing it more. I've noticed.
Yeah.
Hell
Dude,
yeah.
he's been doing way more.
Juiced.
Yeah.
There we go. But that's the great thing
and
about
that makes me
our
happy.
Group in general. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And that's what's great about our group in general is because we all push each other to do positive things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And a lot of group of friends, they're like yes men, where it's like, if you ask the group something, what are they going to tell you? Their honest opinion,
they're gonna,
right?
Yeah,
there's group of friends that they people have friends and they just tell them what they want to hear all the time.
Yeah,
and they're like supposed to be good friends. It's like no,
it's like when
good
girls
friend tells you how it is.
It's like girls and their friends. They'll have like the worst boyfriend in the world.
A lot of girls. Not always,
sorry.
I know what you mean. It's particularly younger. Like,
girls
growing up, like
girls will
high school girls.
Yeah, will have this horrible boyfriend, treats them like crap. Then all the girls are like, dump him, leave him. She leaves him, and then
that type of girl.
And then they'll go and get back with their boyfriend, and then all the girls who told them to leave him all comment, "Oh my god, you are so cute together. I'm so happy." And I'm like, "No, you were just talking crap about this dude. You guys, come on."
Yeah,
come on.
It's that psychology. That's
college more.
And
social groups.
It's just about like people care too much about social media. So much that they actually hide their real life, because those same people is like, they're the ones posting like, oh, I love this person so much. He's so, she's so great or he's so good. They're posting every day, but it's like, bro, I know you, like who you, and everybody knows you and everybody knows your relationship.
Yeah, exactly.
So who do you think you're fooling?
Yeah.
And that's the weird thing.
Yeah, that's.
But then you'll see the people comment, and what do they comment? They're like, oh, you're so cute.
Yeah.
You're the best
I'm
couple.
so happy
It's
to
like
go
you're
together.
fucking liars.
Yeah, you just convinced that person that they
Yeah.
didn't need that person anymore, and then they got back with them, and it's just like,
But then behind the back, they're like, I can't believe they're together.
Yeah.
It's like we should have fucking told
that's
them
why, yeah,
how it was.
like you're saying, like our group of friends is just, and granted, our group of friends is 9 dudes, probably, so it's 12 dudes who like, or like 10 dudes who like knew each other growing up, and then we added like
Yeah.
3 or 4 after that, and we've always been close, and we're always gonna literally tell people straight up what's going on. And I think recently our group has become so much, it's become a lot cooler to me, because a lot of the times I like just growing up in the group, I was always afraid to like maybe do something or say something, or like whether it was like something creatively or something else. I was always afraid because it was like,
you're gonna get shit.
yeah, you're gonna get shit. People are gonna shut you down and stuff like that. Where
Yeah.
it seems like in the past couple of years, our group's like completely, we're all at the age where like, hey, if you want to do something, do it. We're all gonna support you. We're not gonna hate on it anymore. We all realize it's just like,
Because we're all grown up, dude.
yeah, exactly.
Before it's like you're like there's a certain part of like group of guy group of friends talk a lot of shit to each other.
Oh, I mean,
and
we
that's
still
like
do so
every
much.
not just our group though. Like,
Yeah.
that's how every guy group is. It's like a huge part of like the camaraderie of
Yeah.
it, you know? Professional sports teams. You play baseball, you play any sport. They
Yeah.
talk so
Oh, yeah.
much shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Talk about your sister, your
And-
family, whatever.
Yeah. And so it's like, but at this point, it's like sometimes it goes a little bit too far for guys too.
Yeah.
Where it's like they catch you on a bad day.
Yeah.
When you were trying to get that shit
Yeah.
talk, it's a little rough. You know,
Yeah.
that's when, you know, that's when it comes in. That's when you start to like things that you're like, oh, I kind of like doing this, but they're like, they're going to hate on me. For
Yeah,
it,
exactly.
You know, back in the day.
Yeah.
But growing up, you realize like now we all root for each other.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I feel like there's a tendency to be competitive, like
Mhm.
between guys. Like I said,
Mhm.
I think guy groups really, really compete with each other. And to the point, I think it's kind of human nature to kind of like originally when you're younger or less mature, when people, your friends are doing better than you,
Mhm.
you start to like kind of like try to find ways to hate on
Yeah,
them.
yeah,
Because
yeah,
you
yeah.
feel some type of way, you
Yeah.
know? And so,
And, well, I think, and that's just like growing up in the sense of like when you're in your early 20s, it's kind of like you like I don't know, you almost hate on your friends in the sense for like growing up because you're not going to be able to hang out with them.
because you think they're doing better than you.
Yeah, and like you, and then you just like, and it's almost selfish. Like sometimes it's like it's not like I never wanted Errol to get married, but like you know, like oh, Errol's gonna get married. Maybe I'm not
Before
gonna
me,
see him.
yeah.
Maybe I'm not gonna see him anymore. Oh my god,
yeah,
like you know what I mean? Like that
kinda
type of
shit,
stuff
that
too.
kinda shit, yeah.
And obviously, like that didn't change at all. I see
Yeah.
Errol all the time, but yeah.
Yeah.
You just you're afraid of change, even when it's with your own group of friends, and even if it's them doing something good for themselves. Sometimes you're just like, I don't know why. It's just how we used to be, and now it's kind of flip flopped where it's like, whatever you need from us or whatever you need from me, I'm gonna support you, dude. Like I'll buy something, I'll do whatever.
And when you feel like when your friends do cool things, you're like, not gonna instantly hate on them because you're
Mhm.
like, man, that's super cool. You're gonna be like, that's dope.
Yeah,
My boy's out here getting it. My boy's out here grinding, making money.
Mhm.
That's what I'm talking about. You
Yeah.
know, he's making like, because it's like almost like you see a path for them.
yeah.
Because you know how hard it is to find a path. You
Mhm.
know, and that's the
Mhm.
thing, and that's what you always did. You're always rooting, and you're always trying to gear somebody towards a path. You know?
Yeah.
I remember back in the day when I was kind of stuck in my rut.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
And there's a certain point where I think every guy gets like where there's a pressure to like figure out
We're good.
what you're want to do.
Yeah.
There's like a tremendous
Well,
pressure,
Yeah.
and then you start to be like, you know, I don't know what I want to do, so I'm just gonna do nothing.
Yeah.
You know?
and then that's just like when you're in your 20-something years old, everyone's trying to figure it out. You're in high school, you're trying to figure out. In college, you're trying to figure out. In college, you major in something, and now you're supposed to know what you want to do.
But in your mind, your friends have it figured out.
yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
They have it figured out. But at a certain age, you realize, oh, nobody has it figured out.
Mhm.
So I don't have to hate on them for, you know, like going off to school and getting this.
Mhm.
Because the reason why I'm like thinking that way is because like I feel like they got it figured out.
Mhm.
But then once you realize everybody ain't got it figured out, then you start
Yeah.
rooting for your
Yeah.
friends when they figure it
Yeah,
out.
because you're like,
You know what I
thank-
mean?
yeah,
Because you're
someone is.
figuring it
Yeah.
out. We're figuring it out together, you
Yeah,
know?
exactly.
Because it's fucking hard to figure it out. You know?
It is hard to figure it out.
Yeah, it's hard to figure it out. And even when you think you figured it out, you haven't figured
Oh
it
no,
out yet.
something else. Just a giant other thing comes.
Yeah, you got more stuff to figure out.
Yeah. All right, you down to work out, man?
Yeah, I'm fucking down. Yeah.
All right, you guys. I don't know what episode this is. Thank you again. Appreciate you.
This is it. Real talk and whatnot.